Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be covering the Captain America movie released in 1990, starring Matt Slinger as Steve Rogers and Scott Paulin playing Tadzio D. Santis, otherwise known as the Red Skull. Yes, that's right. For pretty much the first time in one of these Marvel kill counts, we finally have a villain that is actually from the comics. The very first time that we got a villain from the comics in the movies was in the Doctor Strange movie released in 1978, which had Dormammu and Enchantress. I did make a post about 8 months ago going over what the kills were and whatnot, and I never made a full video on it. If you guys would like to see a full video on the 1978 Doctor Strange movie, let me know in the comments. Although this movie has Red Skull as the main villain, it's nothing really to get excited about. Not only is his design absolutely atrocious, he's not like a really traditional Nazi like he is in the comics. Tadzio D. Santis was an Italian boy genius who was taken from his home by Mussolini himself to Fortezza Lorenzo, and he was to become an Übermensch. The first ever, I believe. Übermensch essentially means someone who does not look upon somebody else for a moral set. They create their own morals off of their own tuition. The word was originally created by Friedrich Nietzsche, who was a philosopher in the late 1800s. The word can very closely relate to what Adolf Hitler and the Nazi regime was trying to achieve, in the sense of they are the master race. They do not look to God or any other higher being for morals or how to act. They believe that they create it themselves because, again, they are the master race. They are superior above all. This is what I believe Mussolini was trying to replicate, someone who creates the morals for themselves and does not look upon anyone else's judgment. If I can explain it in the simplest terms, Mussolini is essentially trying to make someone who does not have any morality. They don't have any concern with killing kids, killing dogs. They have no morality, no... I'm trying to think of what the word is. Basically, they have no repercussions. They believe that whatever they are doing, no matter what it is morally right and what should be done. As I stated previously, Tadzio was taken from his home by Mussolini himself, and that is how our movie starts. Mussolini and a couple other Italian stormtroopers storm into his home while he's playing the piano and take him, killing 12 people in the process. They take Tadzio to Fortezza Lorenzo to turn him into the Übermensch that I talked about earlier. One of the main doctors on the operation, Dr. Marie Facelli, chickened out the day of the operation. She ran away to the United States to give them the formula. We then cut to Redondo Beach, California, where we see Steve Rogers and his mother mourning what I would presume to be Steve's dad. So that's what I'm putting him on the kill count for. Steve's dad. Steve's got the whole family in town because he's going to the military to be injected with the Übermensch serum made by Dr. Facelli. They're about to take a family photo, but they don't have Bernie, Steve's girlfriend. Bernie is heartbroken to see Steve leave because she's afraid that he's going to die, but Steve reassures her and he's on his way. A week later, Steve is taken to this random-ass fucking diner in the middle of nowhere. However, under the diner is a secret testing facility where Steve is currently being injected with the Übermensch serum. I don't know if it's actually called that in the movie, but that's what I'm calling it, so... It's called the Übermensch serum from now on. After the operation is done, Dr. Facelli goes to shake a man's hand, but out of fucking nowhere, the guy puts his hand up, screams, "Hail Hitler," shoots Dr. Facelli, killing her and one other soldier, before being killed himself by Steve, throwing him into an electro box. Steve also tanks 3 gunshots, because he ain't no biatch. After Steve gets healed up in the nick of time, like it was just a fucking splinter, they send him on a mission to go stop the Red Skull from blowing up the White House. Quick intervention here. I didn't put this in the script, so... on the mission that Steve goes on, as Captain America, on the mission, he kills a guy in a light tower, in like a watchtower, by the collapsing of his tower. I didn't put that in the script for some reason, so if this is a little awkward, it's because of that. So, carry on with the video. Steve goes to the military base where Red Skull is about to launch the rocket, and this is actually the first time we see Red Skull, and it is not very pleasant. Red Skull kicks Steve's ass, after which Red Skull ties Steve to the rocket, going to the White House, and Steve grabs Red Skull's hand super fucking tightly, which forces Red Skull to chop off his own hand. And Steve is still being launched by the rocket. He's still strapped to the rocket, and he's still going up to the White House, but Red Skull didn't come with him. Meanwhile, there's a little kid on vacation in Washington, D.C., who randomly, in the middle of the fucking night, at 4 a.m., decides to go into the front yard of the White House. While all this is happening, Steve is still fighting for his fucking life, trying to kick off one of the bottom wings to change the rocket's trajectory. Which is a good plan, but the way it's portrayed is not scientifically accurate at all. Steve is incredibly close from hitting the White House and the kid on vacation, but luckily is able to kick off the bottom wing. And this is the White House. This is him. He's this fucking close. Once he kicks that bottom wing, he just fucking flies up. He flies up immediately, which I'm not a rocket scientist, but I don't feel like that's what would actually happen. I don't feel like he would just immediately shoot up like that. Anyway, he does. He shoots directly up, and he just flies off to somewhere in Alaska. I wasn't being lazy here. That's just what the movie says. The movie says that he flew just to somewhere in Alaska. Where? No fucking clue. Somewhere in Alaska. The little kid on vacation is just amazed by the whole situation. Not only does he get a pic, but he also tells the whole thing to his best buddy, Sam Kolowitz, who will be a very important character later on. In Alaska, Steve is, you guessed it, frozen for 50 years before being defrosted by an expedition group. A lot has happened over these 50 years. You remember that kid that was starstruck in the White House? He's president of the United States. And Red Skull? Yeah, he's not even Red Skull anymore. If you got excited about a comic book villain in one of these movies, think again. You get a bunch of plastic surgery to cover that shit up. During a discussion with a lot of high-power people, it's revealed that Red Skull actually hired a lot of the assassins that are in the real world. Red Skull hired Sirhan Sirhan, the man who assassinated Robert F. Kennedy, Lee Harvey Oswald, the man who assassinated JFK, John F. Kennedy, and he also hired James Earl Ray, the man who assassinated Martin Luther King Jr. And I'm putting Robert F. Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, and Martin Luther King Jr. on the count. They are officially on the Captain America kill count. Because not only are those real historical deaths, also later on in the movie, Sam Kolowitz shows some newspapers to Steve Rogers detailing the fact that they died. However, I'm not going to count Sirhan Sirhan and James Earl Ray. Although those people are actually dead, it's not ever mentioned in the movie. Although Robert F. Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, and Martin Luther King Jr. are, again, actually dead, if it's never mentioned again in the movie, I don't know how to count it. Because you see, Red Skull only mentioned that he hired 3 assassins. Not only that it was, a success, maybe it could have been a failed assassination attempt. Or 2, that those people were actually, prosecuted for their crimes. That they were actually put into the electric chair or killed by Secret Service. So, with no real confirmation that they would be dead, I wouldn't have counted them. However, again, later on in the movie, Sam Kolowitz shows newspapers to Steve Rogers detailing RFK, JFK, and Martin Luther King Jr.'s death, along with Lee Harvey Oswald. They mention Lee Harvey Oswald's grave. However, I did not count Sirhan Sirhan and James Earl Ray. It's never stated that they actually died, so I'm not going to count them. After Steve steals Sam's car, he takes it to Bernice's house, where he reunites with Bernice, and Bernice tells him that she waited 16 years before finally moving on and having children with a man named... I forgot the guy's name. With a man named Jack. Sam tells Tom Kimball, the kid who was at the White House when Steve passed by with a rocket, where Steve is, in California. Sam tells Tom Kimball, the kid who was at the White House when Steve passed by with a rocket, where Steve is. And the entire time, Red Skull's daughter, Valentina DeSantis, is listening in on the conversation. Sam is able to make it just in time before Valentina, but not by much. Valentina is right behind him, shooting him in the back, killing Sam. Valentina also shoots Jack, Bernice's husband. However, Jack's not dead, but Bernice is though. She gets shot as well. Red Skull makes a move, kidnapping Tom Kimball and taking him to Fortenza Lorenzo to put a chip into him that will allow Red Skull to control his every movement. which means that Steve, and I guess now Sharon, who is Bernice's daughter, needs to go find Dr. Facili's diary. So, they go to the diner, where Steve was originally injected with the serum, and luckily, the bunker and Dr. Facili's diary is still there. Although, they do run into a little bit of trouble with some Nazis, nobody dies here, so our count is still 22. Reading through Dr. Facili's diary, they find out the origin of the Red Skull. They find out his real name and where he used to live. So, that's where they go, where he used to live in Italy. They meet up with some people who I guess went through the rubble of where Tadzio used to live, and they find a tape recording detailing the night that Tadzio was taken from his home. They stop to grab a bite to eat, and the assassins working for Red Skull are genuinely some of the worst assassins I have ever seen. All their attempts to kill Steve and Sharon are just plain bad, and it takes them like 2 years to aim down sight and pull the trigger. Steve and Sharon end up getting away, but don't make it too far up the road before being intercepted by the spies. Steve locks Sharon out of the car and tries to lure them away and gets kidnapped. Kimball is able to escape just before Red Skull injects him with the chip, and just in time for Steve to arrive as well. Tom decides to try and jump off the side of the fortress, so that way Red Skull can't use him for his plans, but he's caught by Steve. And Kimball tells Steve that they've actually met before, revealing that Kimball was the kid at the White House when Steve was trapped at the rocket. They start fighting through Nazis, killing 2. One was killed by being crushed by rubble. Another one was killed by a bullet that ricocheted off of Cap's shield. After Steve and Kimball fight through the Nazis, Steve and Red Skull have a little 1v1, leading them to a piano with a arming device that Red Skull is threatening to activate. And apparently, the bomb that Red Skull has set up is believed to be able to close off the majority of Southern Europe, like make it not inhabitable from anywhere to a decade or two to a century, which the amount of gunpowder and TNT needed for that feat alone is insane. Like, I don't even know, like, that's just insane. That's actually insane. I mean, Europe is a small continent, don't get me wrong. I believe that the US could do it with their modern technology, but not for a century. Maybe for a few years, not a decade or two or a century. Maybe I'm just severely underestimating the power of an atomic bomb, but that just seems really unlikely. I don't know. Maybe I just don't know maybe I'm just not caught up on my knowledge of atomic bombs. Steve gets a hold of the recording of the night that Tadzio was taken from his home, hoping that it will give them enough time to kill him, which is exactly what happens. Tadzio is sitting there gazing at his piano, and Steve throws his shield at Tadzio, throwing him off of the cliff, killing him. Valentina is hit with Steve's shield in return, but I'm not putting her on the count. After that, the US military storm that bitch, and Steve and Sharon live happily ever after. And that's the film, meaning that our final tally for Captain America, released in 1990, was 25 kills. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm really liking doing these scripted videos, scripted kill counts. Not scripted videos, but scripted kill counts. I really like writing the scripts. It is more work for me, but not only is it's not that much work, but I don't know, I like doing more work. I like putting more effort into these videos, and I feel more proud about them. I feel more proud to say that I made these because I put in time to make a script. Hopefully, my recording studio is a little bit better than just my living room with this shit fucking lighting. But I'll try and do better. I'll maybe try and find a better area. I might go into a different room or something. Let me know if you guys like these higher effort videos. It will mean that they're going to be a little slower in production, but I plan on locking it, because I've only done a couple projects, and I only have 10 months to get through all of the other Marvel projects. There's not that many, but I still have quite a few to get to, a lot of scripts to write, so I plan on doing crunch time, which means a lot less gaming videos. I know I said in my ranking video that I want to play a lot more games in 2026, and that is true, but I also need to lock in with these Marvel kill counts. So I'm going to be putting more time into the kill counts than I am the gaming videos. I'm still working on them. I'm still editing. I actually edited quite a bit of my Dead Space remake today, but there's going to be a lot more time that I'm putting into the kill counts. 2 kill counts that I actually need to talk about is the Amazing Spider-Man TV show with Nicholas Hammond from 1977 to 1979. I'm working my way through that, but that video is going to be very low effort, along with The Incredible Hulk with Lou Ferrigno and whoever plays David Banner. I forget who it is. Those videos are going to be very low effort because I'm not going to write scripts for Incredible Hulk. There's like 50 episodes, I think 48 to be exact. There's 48 episodes, all of which are an hour long. I'm not writing scripts for all of those episodes. All I'm going to do is give a very brief synopsis of what the episode's about, and then I'm going to say if there's any kills. That's it. And then I'll have one other video for the movies, because there was like, I think 3 movies? I think 3 movies of Lou Ferrigno's adaptation of the Hulk. So there will be a full video for that. But there won't be scripts. Like I said, it will be kind of brief talking about the movies, with and I'll state if there are any kills. But that's not going to be the case for all of it. Mainly just for the TV shows. Like, for example, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., that's a big TV show to cover. I'm not going to be writing scripts for every single one of those. I'm just going to be like, okay, this is what this episode's about. These are the kills and how they died. On to the next episode. For a lot of, like, the Netflix series, like Daredevil and Daredevil Born Again, those are a little bit shorter, so I can go a little bit more in-depth. But those will actually probably be entirely unscripted, and it'll just be me going off of my memory with a couple notes that I'll be looking at over here. Yeah, this is, I don't know if you can see, but my laptop's over there. I've just been bending down, reading the script, trying to remember it. I think that's all I have to say. I want to really crack down on Marvel kill counts. So yeah. That's all I have for you today. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like on it. If you enjoy all my videos as a whole, then please consider hitting that subscribe button. It's entirely free. It takes like 2 seconds, and it would really, really help my channel, help grow my channel, and I would really, really appreciate it. But that is all I have time for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Goodbye.